Welcome to Gaynor School of Cooking. Those of you who haven't been with us before, as I say, my name is Gaynor Grant. I own the school, and tonight we are going to have fun with food with our taste of Thailand. Okay. I was just talking about some of the ingredients. I'm just going to go through the ingredients that we've got on this glossary list of here, things that are a little bit more unusual that either hopefully you could get hold of or and explain a little bit about them. Fish sauce in Thai cooking is used, often they use soy as well, but used very often instead of soy sauce. It's a similar sort of thing. If you smelt it, it smells revolting. So you only use it in moderation. And in moderation, it's good, and it gives a sort of saltiness to a dish that the soy sauce will do. And you could substitute soy if you didn't have the fish sauce. For any ingredients, I would suggest, if you're buying any of these in decent amounts, is to go to the Strip in Pittsburgh, particularly places like Lotus. They have all this stuff, and it's much cheaper than buying it at the Giant Eagle or any other grocery store. So definitely I go in there and I always get nice sticker shock, i.e. she goes, that will be $12 and I think it's going to be $24. So it's actually really nice. So the prices are excellent there. I mean, they're literally, the large bottle of this, like about this big, is like, I don't know, I think $3, $3.50, something like that. You know, you probably pay that for this small one, which my girlfriend gave me, she didn't want it, in the regular grocery stores. Okay, so that's our fish sauce. As I say, it's called Nam Pla is the name for it, Taiwanese name for it. And then we have the Laos and Galanga, and that's a little picture we have here. It's a member of the ginger family. This is what it looks like in its raw format. Now, the nice thing with this, you can buy this at places like Lotus in a bag frozen. I've got a big bag of it. I bought it probably about 18 months, 2 years ago. And I just take a piece out and use what I want and then put the rest back in the freezer. As I say, it looks like ginger. It's got a browner skin and a slightly tougher skin than ginger. And if you smell it, it has a slight sort of citrus taste to it. But it can be interchanged with the Galanga or Laos powder. It's the same name for the same thing. And it comes in a little, in a regular spice jar. It definitely has a sort of little citrusy hue to it. If you don't have it, you can use ginger powder. Little different taste, but it kind of works. As I say, it's in the same sort of family. Sorry, it's going to make me sneeze. Sorry about that. So as I say, the dried is great. As I said, if you go to one of these stores, you can buy it like this and keep it in your freezer. And lemongrass. Now you can buy dried lemongrass, which will work. You can also buy frozen lemongrass, but the whole stalks, I've actually cut mine up. It looks a bit like a palm leaf. They're kind of very sinewy, like palm leaves would be. And we're going to use that in our green chicken curry paste, okay? And they generally at this store are 3 for $1. They keep for ages. You could chop it up, freeze it, use it. I've had these ones literally in the fridge since the last time I did this class about a month ago. Because they're dry, they don't go yucky or anything. They work really well. And then palm sugar, which we're not going to use tonight, but there are many recipes, particularly dessert recipes in Thailand and that part of the world with palm sugar. It's like really, 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 really hard congealed brown sugar. All right. When you buy it, it is hard, but not quite as hard as this. When you've had it for a while, it firms up even more. So I generally grate it when I use it, when it gets this firm. You can use regular light brown sugar, but use about half the amount, because this is very it's not as sweet, anything like as sweet as brown sugar, but it is a sugar from palm. Okay, shrimp paste, as we just talked about, comes in jars like this, has a shrimpy fishy taste, and is a paste. And I said, if you haven't got shrimp paste, a good substitute for that would be anchovy paste or minced up anchovies, or just a little bit more fish sauce if you don't have either of those. All right. And then chilies. There's a lot of chilies in Thai cooking. They come in many formats. I have the little whole dry ones right here. We're going to be using a fresh jalapeno. And in one of the recipes, I'm going to use the little red chili seeds. All right. So you always, like with any cooking from that part of the world, you adjust the spiciness to your own personal taste. We're going to go kind of moderate tonight. You can add more next time you make it. Go, oh, this is for wimps. This is not hot enough for me. I'm going to make it hotter. But either, I mean, even if the recipe says a piece of fresh, dried chili like this, you can use the seeds as well. It works, does exactly the same job, really, pretty much. Now, preserved turnip, I don't have this here. It's a kind of a funny thing. It's turnip that's basically in a bag, and it's salted very often. They call it salted preserved or whatever, and it's sometimes used in a pad thai recipe. And you can get that. I would advise, if you've never been to somewhere like Lotus, it's next to Woolies on the strip. Like if you're looking at Woolies here, it's to the left of Woolies. And it's really fun to go in there and wander around and see things you've never seen before. But everything is written in English as long as you look closely on the little labels at the front, so you can work out what it is. Fantastic things they have in there, and their prices are amazing. And they even have things in there that we use every day. I got my Chinese eggplant, and they do basil, they do cilantro at like 39 cents a bunch or something like that. They have lots of stuff. Fresh ginger, way cheaper than the grocery stores. So definitely worth a trip, particularly if it's things that you can buy and freeze or keep a long time. Garlic they have, and Asian pears, and all sorts of things. So it's kind of fun. So that's just a brief rundown of those ingredients. And if you've got any questions about those, we can come back to those again in a minute. Now, my turmeric, tamarind. I missed tamarind. I'm sorry. I've got tamarind here. All right, tamarind comes in a number of different things. You can get a tamarind paste, and if you got that, that's fine. You can also get a tamarind. This is tamarind paste. It's very sort of sticky and sort of brown and very unattractive looking. With this, you soak this in hot water, and then you push it through a strainer. If you smell this when it's warm, it has a orangey sort of smell as well. Then we have powdered as well. You can buy it powdered. You can use that. You can buy the concentrate as well. All right. So it's either or. Okay, whatever you want to use. Okay. All right. So as far as the recipes go, what we're going to do first, we are going to make our green chili paste. Now you have more here than you're going to need, but this freezes beautifully. You can freeze it in like a Ziploc bag, or you can freeze it in little ice cube trays or something like that. That's good, because then you can pop it out and just use it in a green chicken or a green chili at some other times. There's 3 types of chili in curry, sorry, I beg your pardon, in Thai cooking: red, green, and orange. Unlike Indian, was totally different. Indian curries, Thai curries, nowhere near the same. Red is the hottest, green in the middle, probably orange the lightest, the least hot, but sometimes a little hot. But those 3, and they are named after their color. All right. So we're going to make a green chicken curry tonight with the coconut milk and some fresh basil, and then our green curry paste. So for this paste mixture here, basically all these ingredients are just going to go into your food processor. Now, we're not making a huge amount of this tonight, so it may not break down in your food processor quite as much as I'd like. But the problem is doing it in a blender is that when you do it in a blender, it tends to get stuck in the bottom. So it's your choice whether you use a Cuisinart or a blender. If you're quite happy to fiddle around with your blender, you can probably do a decent job. I'm going to put mine in my food processor because I think it's a little easier. Because I find with my blender, unless I've got a lot of liquid in my blender, it doesn't break up very easily. So let's look at our ingredients. We have louse powder or ginger if you haven't got it, a little bit of fresh lime zest, half a teaspoon of ginger. That's the fresh ginger. If you're only using dried, that's fine too. You just add more ginger. I have a piece here that I've peeled already. You have to peel the outside off of that. 3 whole serranos or a jalapeno. I have a jalapeno, which I've got in my little bowl here. Fresh coriander. Coriander is cilantro. Coriander is actually the English name for cilantro. Here we tend to call it cilantro, but it is really coriander in English. My shrimp paste, some black peppercorns, some salt, 2 whole cloves or 1/3 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, some canola oil, tasteless oil, ground nutmeg, lemongrass, cilantro, and the shallots. All right, and I have so I have all my dried spices together in this little bowl. I have all my veggies in here, which I've just chopped up a little bit. All right, so I'm going to put this in to my food processor right here. Tip all these in, add all my dry ingredients, my spices. All right, and then I'm going to add my oil as well, and we're going to attempt to get this into a fairly smooth paste. All right. It may take a few minutes. The the lemongrass in particular is kind of hard to break up because it's very, very fibrous. All right, I'm going to push it all down a little bit. Get a spatula. If you're really having trouble getting it to break down, add a little bit more oil. I think I'm going to add a tiny bit more oil to this just to help it move around a little bit because we're doing a relatively small amount. So I've added about another teaspoon of oil to that. All right, put my lid back on. Pulsing it often helps. It does take a couple of times of pushing it back down into your bowl to get it broken up. Now it will break up more when you cook it. Oh gosh, my lime zest, which I put in that bowl, did not go in. So I want to make sure I get that in there. Often pulsing helps because it doesn't all sort of stick to the sides so much. It kind of drops back in. I'm going to give it one more push down. As I say, you can freeze this. I've got loads of it in my freezer. I always forget I've got some. Although I wanted to make it with you guys tonight anyway, but okay, pretty good. As I say, the more you do, the more it will break up, the more volume you have. So it's mixed up in there, and I'm going to scrape it into a little bowl. So it's pretty pastified. That's not really a word, I know, but and a lovely, lovely green color, obviously coming from the cilantro and the lemongrass, and a little bit from the lime and stuff as well. All right, so my paste is right in there. I'm going to put that to one side for a little bit. So we are going to start. This goes in a little bit later. So with our recipe itself, okay, so that is the bottom. I say you can refrigerate it, it'll keep for ages. You can freeze it, and it will also keep pretty much indefinitely. Okay, so I'm just going to move my mouse over here out the way. Whoop. All right, so for the green chicken curry itself, we are going to, your coconut milk is broken down into two amounts, 2/3 of a cup for the amount of chicken we're doing. If for the 4 of you, if you're doubling this, obviously you're going to double everything that we have in the recipe. We are going to combine 1/3 of a cup of coconut milk, our chicken, fish sauce and my either your dried louse powder or ginger or my galanga. Now I'm going to use my galanga, so I'm actually going to peel this. This is a lot harder to peel than ginger. Ginger, you can just pull the skin off virtually. But the galanga, with my big knife, I think, is much harder. It's almost like bark on a tree. Woo. There we go. So I'm going to mince this up. So I'm going to chop it into a couple of pieces. Harder to cut than ginger as well. So this is about a 1-inch cube I have here. And I'm going to, it's amazing how tough it is actually. As I say, much, much harder to cut than fresh ginger. Chop it up a little bit more. Whee. So fairly small pieces. It'll soften up as it cooks, okay? So in your skillet, you want to put one of your 3rd cups of coconut milk. Make sure you get it all in. My galanga. And my fish sauce. Just a little bit of fish sauce. And my chicken. All right. Now, my chicken, I've broken into smallish pieces, sort of smaller than serving size, really, because it'll cook a little quicker. All right. So I'm going to mix this around my pan. Now, we don't have a huge amount of liquid, but that's okay. This will be plenty. And we're going to lay our chicken in, either skin side down or up. It doesn't matter because you're going to turn it around. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. I don't want those end pieces. Use those for stock. So not a lot of liquid in there right now, but that's okay. So what I want you to do is bring this up to a boil. All right. Just till it starts to boil, because you haven't got a lot of liquid in there. And then we are going to turn the heat down, put a lid on it, and cover it and let it cook. Now, the reason I'm putting a lid on it is because we have a relatively small amount. If you have a larger amount, you could do it without the lid on, but it'll evaporate too much with the small amount we have. So I'm going to cover it and reduce the heat and let it cook slowly with the lid on. Grab my lid. This will do. Fit. Yeah, just about. And this takes probably about 40 minutes or so to cook, which is why I want to get that on first. And of course, more liquid will be generated from the chicken as well as it cooks. Oh, a drizzle on my thing left there. The reason we're cooking it on the bone, when you're cooking chicken for a long time, you should cook it on the bone, because it on the bone it will stay more moist. If you take it off the bone, it's going to dry out really quickly. So anytime you're sort of cooking chicken in a liquid that's going to cook for a fairly long time, you want to do it on the bone, because it'll get really dry and it's more flavorful like this. And that's partly the other reason I do the smaller piece of chicken, because we're doing a smaller amount. It's a little easier to turn them around and get them to cook more evenly with a small amount. All right, so I'm starting to bubble. So I'm going to turn my heat right down. I have a glass lid here so I can keep an eye on mine. I'm going to put my lid on, and I'm going to turn the pieces over periodically over about the next 40 minutes or so. All right. because we want to make sure that it cooks nice and evenly. All right. And then what we do once the chicken is cooked, we're going to take the piece of chicken out, reduce the liquid that's in there, and then add our curry paste, cook that for a couple of minutes, and then we add the other coconut milk, we turn it to a boil, and add the other stuff, the basil, lemon juice, and peas, and they cook it for about another 5 minutes. All right, so it's a fairly long cooking process at this point, but it will then go fairly quickly. All right, let's move on to our garlic eggplant stir fry. I have a little basil plant here only because when I went to the store, this was the only basil they had yesterday. So I've got it in a plant form. I always think it's daft because it never lives like that for very long. So these are the lovely Chinese eggplant. If you could only get regular eggplant, that's fine. These are, I think, a little sweeter and don't hold as much water as traditional eggplant. All right. And I have red onion here, garlic, cornstarch, and I have soy sauce, fish sauce, oyster sauce, brown sugar, and I have those mixed together in this little bowl, but not my cornstarch. I have my water in there as well. All right. The water, it gets mixed in, and we're going to add a bit of water with the stir fry as well. All right. So what we're going to do, I've combined all my sauce ingredients together in this little bowl. I'm just going to stir it up. So everything is in here of the sauce ingredients. So I have my fish sauce, my oyster sauce, my brown sugar, and my water in here, but not my cornstarch. Don't put the cornstarch in. All right. Just mix those together like that. And then they can sit to one side. Okay. So for the eggplant, you want to cut these into bite-sized pieces. I did wash the outsides of these. Just cut the top off. And these are huge, actually. They do tend to, this knife's not very sharp. Let me get another knife. They do tend to vary a bit in size. These, I picked the two biggest ones they had. So I'm going to cut it in chunks. And then I am going to cut these and then cut them into sort of 1-inch cubes. All right. You might find it easier if your knife's not very sharp, cutting them from the inside to the outside, because the skins tend to be a little waxy and a little soft. Actually, they tend to be a softer consistency than a traditional eggplant, the old bog standard eggplants. Okay, we do not remove the seeds from these or anything. We just cut them all up. I love this eggplant curry, which is why I make it. I think it's really nice. I always like a vegetable curry. Even in Indian curries, I like a vegetable curry. So that's probably why I like this one so much. Yeah, mine are enormous. I'm going to have a lot here. I may have to add some more liquid to it. It can sometimes be like half this size, so you never know. I was greedy. I picked the big ones. Put the end off there. A little bit of brown at one end, so I want to get rid of that. Like the regular eggplant, the seeds tend to be at one end. As you can see, this part here at this end doesn't really have any seeds in. All right, so that's my eggplant all chopped up, and then my red onion we'll chop in a second. So I'm going to move my chicken over a little bit over here. And I'm going to use another skillet for my eggplant. I'm actually going to grab a bigger one because I've got so much eggplant there. I'm going to grab a slightly larger one. And we want to heat the oil in the bottom. So I'm putting a little bit of about 1.5 tablespoons of oil. Oh, what am I doing? That's not my oil. This is my fish sauce. Sorry. I've got little black containers. I couldn't see what it was. All right. Right, let me grab my oil. I'm probably going to add a little bit more oil because mine are really large. So I probably added about 2.5 tablespoons rather than 1.5 because my eggplant are large, okay? So you want to let your oil heat up a little bit, and then we're going to put our eggplant in, and we're going to cook those. We're going to with the onions and the garlic. So while that's heating up, grab your half of onion, red onion, and cut this in equal size pieces. It really doesn't need to be that small, probably like 1/4 inch size pieces. I have just under a half an onion here, but it was a huge onion. So I'm just gonna, now for this one, I'm actually using, I've got those dried red chilies that I have over there. I'm gonna use those. I'm gonna just crush them up when I put them in. And then my garlic. So I have, we're saying 3 cloves of garlic minced. So when you take your garlic, crack it, and take the skins off, and then mince them up really fine, if you haven't already. Oop. So mince, flatter your hand on the front of your knife, rotate your knife backwards and forwards to get your garlic nice and small. So about half of our garlic is going to go in now, with our onions and our eggplant. And your oil wants to sizzle when you put this in because it means that it'll absorb less oil if it sizzles. If you put it in when the oil is cold, it tends to absorb more of the oil. Gosh, I have tons here. That's okay. I'm going to have lots of, I'm going to be eating this for leftovers for a week, I think. All right, give it a little stir around. And I may need a little more oil even. As I've got right there, you're going to use a little bit more oil if it absorbs all the oil. But let it cook a little bit first because it does tend to add the oil. I do need my chili. So I'm saying half a dried red chili. So I've got a half here, and I'm just going to crumble it over my eggplant. All right. So I'm going to use the other bit as well because I've got a lot of eggplant. Gonna make it spicy. So sort of medium high heat for this. Again, I'm putting a little bit more oil in because I have so much eggplant here. You just don't want it to stick to the bottom. So we want this to get soft. It'll take a few minutes. We're going to let it soften, and then we're going to add about a tablespoon of soy and continue cooking for about another 5 minutes until it's completely soft. And then we're going to add the rest of the garlic and stir fry till it's incorporated. Then as far as the cornstarch goes, the cornstarch goes in to the water. We mix it in and we fold it in. That just gives like a sauce to the eggplant, all right? So move them around so they cook fairly evenly. While that's cooking, I am going to chop up my basil. I'm going to do this and give it a wash. So about a quarter cup of basil before you chop it, roughly. And I'm just going to give it a quick wash. Make sure when you wash it, after you've washed it, dry it really well. Otherwise, it makes it very hard to chop up. All right. Whoop. So I'm wrapping it in some paper towel, giving it a big squeeze, and then I'm going to chop it up. And the same thing with your herbs when you chop them up. You want to bring your herbs together on your, and then chop. Keep the front of your hand on the front of the knife, then draw the herb or whatever you're chopping, the garlic, back into the center and lift at the back of the knife up and down to chop it all neatly. Make sure you get it all. You don't want great big pieces of basil in there. Okay. And there's my basil. While that's doing sauteing, go and turn your chicken over. All right. Carefully lift your lid off. Turn your chicken over. And we're going to do this periodically so we know the chicken is cooked. Should be a good 40 minutes or so, I think. Pop your lid back on. Oops. With my funny little basil plant. So, got another, we want about 5 minutes on this altogether, so maybe another minute or so. And then we are going to add the rest of the garlic and stir fry for a little bit longer. All right. Add the soy sauce as well. I know I'm saying add the garlic later on, but I usually add it now. All right, so I'm going to put in my soy. And I'm actually going to throw my garlic in now. Doesn't matter. And I want this to cook for another 5 minutes or so until our eggplant is really nice and soft, okay? So nice and soft, sort of that light golden brown, no longer white. All right, light golden brown on either side. You will see it going down as it cooks. Obviously, it reduces in size. So you shouldn't have too much in your pan now. Although I must admit, the other pan was going to be too small for what I was going to do. Okay, the amount I was going to do. Now we'll correct the seasoning of this when it's finished, and we can use a little bit of extra lemon juice or lime juice if it's too salty, or a little bit more salt if it's not salty enough. I'm going to grab my lime. There it is. This is the lime I skinned earlier for the fish sauce, for the curry sauce. So you can go ahead and incorporate that little bit of cornstarch into your other sauce ingredients. That's your fish sauce, your soy sauce, your brown sugar, all right, and your water, and mix it together. Whoop. as I spill it all over the place. That's clever. Obviously, the cornstarch will thicken slightly once it goes into the hot pan. And it'll only take about a minute for that to heat up and to thicken. Yeah, just really make sure that all the eggplant's nice and soft. It may take a few more minutes. Mine's getting there, but it's not quite soft enough yet. I'm going to turn my other camera around so you can see what stage of cooked it is, and I'll flick you over onto the overhead so you guys can see what's going on. Let me move it around. Oh, I'll do it. It's probably easier if I do it on here. So I've got my overhead camera here, and I'll there we go. And you can see my eggplant softening. I think don't be too tempted to put too much oil in, as long as it's not sticking to your pan. You don't want it floating in oil because it's horrible. I have a few pieces that still aren't, they don't look cooked. So I still want to make sure I get those cooked. I'm going to push those bits into the middle and give them a few more minutes. And we will season this at the end to your own taste. Let's say a small amount of fish sauce we have in it shouldn't be too salty, but if it is a bit salty for your taste, then add a bit of lime or lemon juice to it to cut the saltiness. Oh, I just lost the piece over the edge. Yes, I did. All right, come on, you cook a bit more of that piece. So can you see that mine are they all look fairly soft. That piece is a little white still. Most of the rest is pretty good. You've got a couple of pieces that do look white, push them down to the bottom. Get them to cook, because they're not nice if they're undercooked. It is amazing how this goes down. It shows that there's a certain amount, obviously, water content in there, but all veggies go down. Spinach is the most. You go down, you end up with, you had a bag of spinach, you end up with half a cup. Okay, looks pretty good. Turn your heat down to low, all right, when you add your cornstarch mixture. So drizzle it in. Make sure you get all this stuff out the bottom, because the sugar and the cornstarch will tend to sink to the bottom. Scrape it all out, and then stir it around to coat all of the eggplant. All right, that looks pretty well coated. It should only take 30 seconds to a minute. Now, I want you to turn it off and then taste it. Taste a piece. Let's do it with a little fork or knife. Now, so I think that's lovely. To me, that has just enough salt in it. Saltiness, I should say. And I don't need any lime juice. But if it's a bit salty for you, add some lime juice. I'm going to put about 3/4 of my basil in. Just turning my chicken down a wee bit over here. There we go. I'm just going to stir that in. Now, the beauty of this This reheats really well, which is why I thought we'd do it now, because we can reheat it when we're ready to eat it. All right, so to save on putting in something and then taking it out again, just put it either off to the, or to the side on your stove, and we'll come back and reheat it a bit later on. I'm going to turn my chicken again. Whoop. Make sure you've got your heat fairly low, because you do not want, doesn't matter if the stuff congeals on the bottom, you just don't want it to burn. Which is why I turned mine down a little bit. It was getting a little hot in the middle, so I've turned it down a little bit. Okay. Oop. Trying to regulate my stove is a lovely stove. It's a lovely old stove, but it's kind of hard to regulate very low. All right. Put your little bit of basil that you have left to one side. We're going to use that just to garnish the top. All right. Afterwards. Okay. Let's clear up some of this. Okay, I'm going to take you back to my lovely face. There we go. I'm just going to wipe my counter off. Everybody good? We all right? Hope so. Just shout out if you're not. Any questions, just holler out to me. If you missed something or you think I made a mistake, wouldn't be the first time. Okay, so we are going to move on to our rice. Okay, the nice thing with this rice, it will hold fairly well. So we'll make it and then we can turn it off and then you can gently reheat it. Now, this recipe is made with jasmine rice, which is my second favorite rice. Basmati is my favorite. Jasmine is my second favorite. I do like it. I generally use basmati most of the time, but for something like this, the jasmine is really nice. It's got slightly sort of perfumey taste, smell, whatever to it. Okay. So I have my jasmine rice, 2/3 of a cup, half a cup of coconut, sorry, 2/3 a cup of coconut milk, my chicken broth, excuse me, my shredded coconut. Make sure it's not sweet. You don't want sweet and shredded coconut. Half a teaspoon of turmeric. I had my little piece of turmeric. Where did I put it? Okay. This is fresh turmeric, which you're suddenly starting to be able to get in like the supermarkets, which is really nice. You can, of course, use the dry stuff that comes in the powdered stuff. But I'm going to use a small piece. I want half a teaspoon, so I probably want about a teaspoon piece of this. About a teaspoon of this, I mean. And I'm just going to, it's obviously turmeric colored, not as orange as the stuff that comes in the dry form, but I'm just scraping the outside with my knife. In fact, it might be a bit easier with my small knife. And I'm going to chop this up. Again, like ginger, like the galanga, it's pretty hardy. So if you buy some, it will last probably a month or more easily before you have to get rid of it. So, you know, don't be afraid to buy. And it's not expensive because you're going to buy a little piece like that. So with this, I'm actually going to, again, I'm going to finely mince this, chop it up. All right. So I'm going to cut it into small pieces and then I'm going to mince it really fine. I just noticed it at my local Giant Eagle last week. I bought it. I didn't buy it particularly for this. I just bought some, and I was like, "Oh, great! Go on, turmeric." This is what helps things go yellow, as does the saffron. All right, so that's my finely chopped turmeric right there. As I say, you could use, it's half a teaspoon. I do apologize. I think it says, oh, no, it does say half a teaspoon of turmeric. Now, saffron threads. Did everybody buy saffron threads? Did you all curse me? You didn't have them as to how darned expensive they are. Saffron is the most expensive herb spice in the world. And the reason for that is it has to be hand picked. It's so fragile. It's the stamen of a type of sort of crocusy type plant. And it has to be picked by hand, otherwise it gets destroyed. So that's why it's so expensive. Not it's expensive to grow, it's expensive to harvest. Because it has to be picked like that. It currently, I don't know how much it is currently. The last time I bought 2 ounces, it cost me $44. And that was wholesale at the restaurant supply place. So when I say it's $600 a pound, it's probably at least that. A few years ago, a girlfriend of mine around the corner, her husband used to travel quite a lot, and he was in Germany. I don't know why Germany, but anyway, he comes home with this quart Ziploc bag of saffron, almost full. And she said to me, "Could you use this?" I said, "Pardon?" She said, "Could you use this saffron?" I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "Well, I won't ever use it." I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "I'll have it." I went, "Okay." And I brought it home, and I probably had about $300 or $400 worth of saffron, I should think, in that bag. Good friend. She had no, I said, "It's expensive." She said, "Okay, I'm never going to use it." So I had that for a long time. I have another saffron story, just to bore you. One of my teachers, Josh, who's one of my current teachers, he, a young guy, and we keep the saffron in a little Ziploc bag in a hidden space in the office because it's expensive. Because we then let students just get hold of it and tip half, $50, $60 worth into a recipe. So anyway, we keep it in this little tiny Ziploc bag. So he got it out of the office and gave it to, dished it out. And then he had a chest jacket with pockets in. So he put the bag, because he was busy, in his pocket of his chest jacket. When I came in on Monday morning and went to rotate the laundry, I'm going into the washing machine and I'm picking out the stuff. And I think, what are these little bits in here? Little tiny bits, and they look red. He had washed his jacket with about $30 worth of the $40 worth of saffron in it. I never let him forget it. I tease him about it all the time. I told him he owes me a bag of saffron. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Very easily done. So be careful with your saffron. All right. Don't wash it in your jeans or something like that. All right. So I have a clove of garlic here, and I'm going to mince this up as well. Oh, I didn't get cumin out. I have to do that. I've got chilies, but not my cumin. Oh, can't get the skin off this old clove of garlic. There we go. All right. So, going to mince this up. Now, this is a rice recipe, an absorption recipe, where we want all the rice to absorb all the liquid. So therefore, it's important you measure everything out. Normally, if you do rice and you just cook it, you're going to have it as a side dish like pasta, whatever. Then you should just cook it in a large amount of boiling salted water, drain it so all the starch goes away. But when you're doing this, where all the flavor is going to be absorbed into the rice, and that's the sort of the nature of the dish, then you want to make sure you measure everything out very carefully. All right. I do need to grab my cumin because I didn't. Where's my cumin? There it is. Oops. Okay, so let's just look at the technique we're going to use here, what the thing we're going to do. So we're going to heat our stock up. All right. So we have 2/3 of a cup of chicken or vegetable stock. High heat. We're going to add the turmeric, the saffron threads, the garlic, the fish sauce, lemon juice, cumin, and chili to it. So you can either use crushed dried chilies, or you can use, I've got chili flakes in here. All right. Bring it to a boil. Then we're going to add the rice, the shredded coconut, the coconut milk, and stir continuously while you bring the mixture back to a gentle boil. Reduce the heat to low, stop stirring, cover it tightly with a tight fitting lid. Turn the heat down really low, and we're going to cook it for about 15 minutes or until all the liquid is evaporated, or absorbed, I should say. And just move it around to make sure the liquid is absorbed. And then we're going to turn it off and leave it on the burner covered for another 5 to 10 minutes. Or until you're ready to eat. So it holds very well at that point. All right. So we're going to start off with, you want to get a pot? I am going to add, oops, this is my 2/3 of a cup of stock, my turmeric, my saffron threads, and my pepper flakes are in there, okay? My chili flakes, I should say. What have I got here? Oh, yeah. My garlic. I have lemon juice and fish sauce in here. I was looking at it thinking, why is it such a funny color? I put them in there together. So I've got everything in there. Yes, I do. And I'm going to bring this to a boil and then add my rice, my coconut. Oh, I didn't put my turmeric in. My half a teaspoon. Oh, shoot. A lid on it. Good job I didn't just dip it in. There we go. That's it. I thought it had one of those, the little sifter thing on. It's actually in the lid. All right. This is going to go on. Come to a boil. Okay. Turmeric there. So the saffron, I was just going to say about saffron. Saffron adds color and a little bit of taste as well. Taste is somewhat negligible. Color is fairly distinctive. All right. So the scallion, while that's coming to a boil, just finely chop up your scallion. This is going to be used just on the top. You could use chives too for this, or Chinese chives, or whatever you wanted, really. And I'm going to dice it up a little bit more, make it a bit smaller, particularly the fatter end, and then put it in a little bowl or something and put it to one side. I'm going to stick it in here in a minute. This should come to the boil pretty quickly, okay? You'll need a wooden spoon to stir it around. I'm just going to turn my chicken over again. This won't look terribly attractive at this point, your chicken. It'll just be oily. That's okay. But just chicken should be getting brown on the outside or on the skin side. All right. So get this at a boil. And then again, I know we're doing a small amount. Sometimes doing these things with a smaller amount is harder than a large amount because things heat up a bit quickly. This was homemade chicken stock and a little bit is stuck to the bottom. I'll make sure I get it all in there. So get it to a boil. All right, I'm just about boiling. So I'm going to throw in, pour in my coconut milk. Oop. There we go. And stir it in, my rice, 2/3 a cup of rice, and my coconut. Stir it around, bring it back to a boil, stirring it continuously. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to put a lid on it. Now, again, you can make this spicier if you want. You could add more chili flakes to it. It's entirely up to you. It's a lovely dish, this. I could eat this and the eggplant on its own, to be quite honest. I've got a little tiny bit of my my coconut milk stuck in the bottom of this little, I use all these little containers, and sometimes the stuff sticks. My coconut milk was particularly thick. I shook the can up, but it was still fairly thick. I think it's because it's cold. Blame everything on the cold. That usually works. So, stirring it while it comes to a boil, and then you're going to reduce the heat to very low and let it carry on cooking until all the liquid's absorbed and the rice tastes nice and tender. we doing for time? It's taking a little while to come to a boil, but that's okay. Starting, it's almost there. All right, just about at a boil now. So I'm going to turn it down very low. But I'm going to change it around. I'm going to put it on the back burner. Put a nice tight fitting lid on it so that you don't get any evaporation before the rice is cooked. Okay. All right, I'm going to take a look at my chicken. Yep, I think my chicken is pretty much done. I'm going to bring it back over here so you guys can see. If you're not sure, take a little skewer or a knife, poke it, make sure no red juices come out. And obviously it wants to stay nice and moist, but if there's no red juices coming out, then it's cooked. Okay, if it isn't, put it back on for a few minutes. Let me pop these little scallions in a little bowl. Okay. So let's go back to our chicken. So our chicken hopefully is cooked. All right. So let's look at our recipe again and work out what we are going to do next. So we've had it on for about 40 minutes, something like that. All right. So we're now going to, excuse me, we're going to take the chicken out with a slotted spoon or a pair of tongs, put it in a separate bowl, and then we're going to increase the heat. And I have very little liquid in the bottom of mine, so I'm actually not going to reduce this any. Again, when we do more, you have more chicken, more liquid, and consequently, you want to reduce the liquid a little bit. But I have very little in here, and if you have the same, very little in there, then you do not really need to reduce it. All right, mine is oily already, again, because we've got a relatively small amount of chicken. So what we're going to do, I'm going to remove these, just put them in a bowl. They are going to go back in, so they'll be heated up again. So don't worry about the fact that they're going to get cold. Now you'll have stuff stuck to the bottom. That's okay. We are going to incorporate that in to our sauce in a second. If you've got pieces of skin that stuck to the bottom, you may want to pull those out. You can get them out. But the nice thing, all those sticky juices in the bottom are going to add flavor to our sauce. All right. So we're now going to add some of that lovely green chili paste that we just put in. 2 to 3 tablespoons, all right, of the chili paste. I have 2 here. I'm actually going to do a very heavy 2, all right? And I'm going to kind of stir this around a little bit in my pan. And I'm going to put it on, I'm mixing it up with stuff at the bottom, and I'm going to cook it for about 2 minutes, all right, with that in. And then I'm going to put the chicken back in and the rest of the coconut milk. Now, as we have a relatively small amount, I'm going to say we are going to add just to help with the final cooking, we're going to add a half a cup of water to it as well with this small amount. Otherwise, we get a little bit too much evaporation, not a lot of sauce left. So over a fairly low heat, scraping the bottom of the pan to get all that good stuff mixed up with your curry paste, okay? That's always the good stuff. You never want to wash that away. You always want to add it to your sauce or whatever, or to the liquid that you're cooking in the pan. A couple of minutes like this, which will soften up the lemongrass and get those flavors mixing together. Keep stirring it around so it mixes in. I'm going to get a half a cup of water. You could use chicken stock too if you wanted to. This is really just because we're doing a fairly small amount. It's not having to be a huge amount of sauce, but we want enough sauce that the chicken is going to absorb it when we put it back in. That lovely chicken is lovely and moist because we cooked it on the bone, all right? And we didn't do it, take it off. If we'd done regular boneless chicken breast, it'd be as dry as anything. Okay, so take your chicken, pour it in. Any juices that are in the bottom of the pan the chicken's been in, the pot, add those as well. And then I'm going to add my half a cup of water and my other 2/3 of a cup of coconut milk. Now we may have to just cook this a bit longer to let this reduce down a bit at the end. If it's not quite flavorful enough, we'll get there. We'll reduce some of the liquid out of it, okay? So mix that all in and reduce the heat. And we're gonna cook it for about 5 or 6 minutes, okay? At a low sort of simmer. Make sure that coconut milk's all mixed in. As I say, mine's a little thick, so I'm making sure it's all mixed in. I'm going to turn my heat down and going to give that about 5, 6 minutes, probably 6 minutes to cook. And also it will reduce the cooking broth a little bit, which is kind of what we want. All right. Now you should have, we need some more chopped basil. So while that's doing that, let's chop up about another 1.5 tablespoons of basil roughly. And well, that's my little bit of lemon juice. Yes, my lemon juice, my peas. So nothing left on my, I might stick it back in my window over here in the kitchen and see if I get any more basil off it. I somehow doubt. I have trouble growing it outside in the summertime. I'm sure it's not going to be able to grow it in the wintertime inside, I don't think. But we're worth a try. Stick it in the window, see what happens. So you want to see a bit of simmering with this, not too much, not too active, but we do want to get a little bit of reduction in there, which will intensify the flavor. Oh gosh, I've got to watch this. I forgot this has just come off the leaves. So I'm going to dry it again, make sure it's really nice and dry. I think if you like Thai food, you've got to like coconut, I think. Since there's so much coconut in Thai food. So I'm going to mince this up again, just like we did before. Once you cut your basil, lift your lid and give your rice, I think that's the spoon I was using, give your rice a stir. It may almost be cooked. Mine is almost, not quite. Again, sometimes a small amount. Now, what I want you to do, okay, mine's pretty much absorbed, but it's almost dry. So if it is dry and almost cooked, give it a little shot of water, because you want it to be, you don't want it to be crunchy, all right? And put it back on, okay? All right, I'm gonna turn my chicken pieces over so they get that nice sauce. And I'm gonna stir my sauce around a little bit. Now I can turn my heat up a little bit, which will enable my sauce to thicken a little bit if I want to. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to season it first with the other things. That's the basil and the bit of lemon juice. Put the peas in and see how it tastes. Now, I could opt to, if I wanted to, add a little bit more of my curry paste if I wanted a little bit more oomph to it, you know. Maybe I'll do that. Yes, I'm going to give it a little bit more oomph. So I'm going to take a little bit, maybe a teaspoon and a half of my chili paste, and I'm going to mix it in. So I'm going to let that cook for a few more minutes for the flavor, and then I will add my peas and my basil and my lemon juice. All right. So it's all personal taste. Depends on how spicy you like things, or how not spicy you like them, how salty you like it. If you really love that fish paste taste, then add more. If you don't, then don't. Okay. All right, I'm going to move this because I want to talk about the soup now. So I'm going to move my pan over here. That one's still on? Yes. And let it cook for a few minutes over there. So let me find something to put my basil in. Oh, we can go in here. Saves on washing up if I put it in something I've already used. All right, so it's my basil, my peas, my lemon juice, the finishing touches for my chicken in a little bit. All right. Okay, now the soup. I love this soup. Part of the reason I love it, A, it's the taste, B, it's very quick and simple to make. Okay. I remember when I first saw this, I thought, that's weird. Soup with cream corn, that sounds really strange. I have actually seen this, and I've made it with shrimp in as well, which is another alternative that you have, that you can add some fresh shrimp to the dish as well. All right, let me wipe this counter off. Got more cilantro mixed in. All right, so we have cream corn, cabbage, chicken stock, garlic, shallot, fish sauce, and oil, and then black pepper, egg, and cilantro. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to chop up our shallot like small like an onion with the garlic, and we're going to cook that first so it's lightly browned. All right, both of them. And then we add the stock and the fish sauce and the cabbage and the corn and black pepper, bring it to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you're going to pour in your beaten egg. Now, for the amount we're doing here, I'm saying about a tablespoon of egg, tablespoon and a half, about half an egg. All right, half an egg mixed together. And then the cilantro is just goes on the top. All right, now again here, if you want it slightly more salty, add more fish sauce to it. All right, you can also make it spicy if you want to, although this isn't traditionally terribly spicy. Okay, you can use any sort of cabbage you want. I've just got a regular old cabbage here. You could use Napa cabbage, Savoy cabbage, it's up to you. But we do want to shred it fairly thin pieces, like you're making coleslaw, and then I usually cut these in half, otherwise you get big, long, stringy bits. I've probably got more here than I need. That's probably plenty. Yeah, that's probably plenty. And I usually cut it across in 3 or 4 pieces because I don't want those great big, long bits. All right. All right, for my shallots. Now with the shallot, peel off the outside, and we're going to cut it same way I cut an onion. If I can get the skin off, it'll help. Onions and carrots, onions and shallots. Best way to cut them is to do them with the root still intact. This one does not want to give up its skin. Come on, come on. Yeah. So leave the root intact, make little cuts around your shallot. Oops. Like that on both. Gosh, that bit didn't work very well. On both sides. And then dice it. Nice and small. And you should be left with just the tail, the root piece in your hand. Okay. All right. I'm going to just recheck my chicken. Taste it. Yeah. Okay. It tastes great now. So I'm going to add my little bit of lemon juice and my peas. And my minced cilantro. And turn my heat down nice and low if it isn't already, and just stir this. Now, I'm actually just going to turn this off because I'm going to reheat it a bit later to serve it. But you really just want to heat with the peas enough to heat the peas up, basically. All right, and it's done. So let me just show you what it looks like. You could use corn in here if you don't like peas. But the peas are traditional in a green curry. So I have for my soup, my cabbage, my shallots. I'm gonna mince up my big clove of garlic I have here, huge one. Whoop, as I throw my onions all over the place. Gosh, this is about three garlic cloves I think in here, but that's okay. I like garlic. There we go. Gosh, huge. Wonderful. I'm in real trouble getting skin off things tonight. Okay, so I'm going to mince this up the same we did the others. Nice and small. My dog's come to check out that I'm doing a good job. Am I doing okay, Ruby? What do you think? No carrots for you tonight. She loves carrots. My dogs love raw carrots. It's kind of weird. Oh, good job I did that because there were some big pieces of garlic stuck to the back of my knife. If your garlic really sticks to your knife, you can use a big pinch of salt. Will help it from sticking to your knife too much. Okay, so that's my garlic. And then I have my cilantro here. I did wash this earlier. This wasn't off a plant. And I'm going to mince this up as well. If you don't like cilantro, you could just use parsley. It's funny, a lot of people don't like it. They think it tastes like soap. It seems to be, that's the only flavor people don't like. Everybody who doesn't like it thinks it tastes like soap. It's a genetic thing, I think, apparently, or something. Generic, whichever it is. All right, so that is my cilantro chopped up. Pretty good. All right, let's then check my rice. It was bubbling at me, so I'm gonna give it a little taste. Still not quite there. Not quite there. Drop more water in there, I think. Again, this is because we have a small amount. We just want to make sure it tastes good to your, you want to eat it the way it is. All right. So, a couple more minutes. Okay, so with your egg, break an egg into a little bowl and mix it with either a fork or a little whisk or something to combine it, because you want to use some of the whole egg. We're just not going to use it all. Okay, so you can take a little whisk or a fork and beat it together. Whoop, without slopping it all over the floor. And that can just sit to one side. And take the piece of shell out of it. I got a piece of shell in mine. How the heck did I end up with shell in there? Oh, I got it. Okay, so just to go over what we're going to do again. So we are going to heat out a little bit of oil in your saucepan, whatever you're going to use. Nothing too big. We're going to heat out oil in there. About 1.5 tablespoons of oil. Oh, not 1.5 tablespoons. I'm looking at the wrong recipe. A little bit of oil, just a tiny bit, and we're going to add our shallots and our garlic. All right, so shallots and garlic in there. And you're going to cook these till they get a little bit of color, the garlic as well. All right, adds a nice little bit of flavor to it. Chicken's looking good. Running out of wooden spoons here. I've used too many. So just at a sort of a fairly low heat, because they'll brown pretty quickly, again, because we've only got a small amount now, they'll brown pretty fast, okay? And then we're going to add the fish stock, excuse me, the cabbage, the corn, black pepper, and fish sauce all together. But the only thing we're not putting in is our egg. So the egg does a thing like, like egg drop soup. It does the same sort of idea as egg drop soup does. It goes, goes stringy in the soup. Again, not a lot of oil in there, but we don't want a lot because we don't want the sauce to be oily, the soup to be oily. Yes, my rice is done. I think it's good, so I'm just going to turn that off for a minute. Now, if your soup is not, sorry, not your soup, if your rice is not salty enough for you, you can add a little bit of fish sauce. I'm going to add a little bit to mine just to give it a little kick, but you don't have to. And your rice should be fairly yellow. And if it's too salty for you, you can put more lemon juice in or lime juice. All right, I have a bit of color on my onions. My shallots and my garlic. All right, so I'm going to put the other ingredients in. My fish sauce, my chicken stock, my fish sauce. All right, so that's my chicken stock, my fish sauce, my corn, and my cabbage. Probably about enough cabbage, actually. Not too much. So stir it together. You're going to let it come to a boil. It's going to cook for just a couple of minutes, really, just long enough for the cabbage to, so by the time it comes to boil, the cabbage to be slightly softened, not really soft, okay? But just slightly softened, and that'll be almost as soon as it comes to boil. And then what you're going to do, you're going to add about a tablespoon and a half of your beaten egg to it, all right? Move these out the way. So let that come to a boil fairly slowly so that it actually, the cabbage wilts a little bit, all right? All right, I think what else, anything else I need to tell you guys right now? I don't think so. Let's see. All right, so the cilantro is going to go on top of the soup. That's good. And a little bit of basil is going to go on top of the eggplant. And then the scallions, we're going to put that on top of the rice. Put this in here so I can move my chopping board out the way. And then we can start to heat some stuff up and start to play it. We got done fairly quickly tonight. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. All right, that's these three things here. So I've got this fairly low, so it's taking a few minutes to come to a boil, but that is okay. Hold on to these. Get rid of my chopping board over here. All right, almost at a boil, not quite. So if you're making this and you want to serve it later, I would suggest that you make it to this stage and leave the egg out and then add the egg when you heat it up to serve it, all right, rather than adding it now and then reheating it, because then it'll goes a little dry and whatever. It's better to do it fresh and then serve it straight away. I'm almost at a boil. I'll turn my screen back to I can see all you guys. There we go. How's everyone doing? All right? We good? All so quiet. Working hard. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of heat under both of my curries here. My chicken one. I'm going to correct the seasoning. Yeah. Yeah, that tastes pretty good. And I'm going to heat up my eggplant as well, just gently. And get the thing. Woo! There we go. Look, turn the darn thing off. So heat your chicken over a slow heat because you want the chicken to get nice and hot. All right, my soup is boiling. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon, which will probably mean 2 half tablespoons because you never get full tablespoons. You can do it like this really, but a good tablespoon of my egg, and then just whisk it in. And then just all you want to do now is just taste, season with some salt or pepper, and some more fish sauce if you want to. I'm going to put a little drop of fish sauce in there. You could just use salt, but I'm going to use a bit of fish sauce. We're in Thailand, do as the Thai do, okay? All right, how's my chicken doing? Again, always taste your dishes before you serve them. Unforgivable to serve a dish without tasting it. People go, there's not enough salt in there. I didn't taste it. What do you mean you didn't taste it? You made it. Why didn't you taste it? Make sure it tastes good. Just having a moan. All right, so I'm going to dish some of this up. My chicken. This is why I like to do a vegetable curry as well, because there's not really, other than those few peas, there's not a lot of vegetables in here, and I do like my veg. So having a vegetable curry with it, I think, is a good idea. And I'm going to put the soup in it's not really a soup bowl, but I'm going to put it in a small little bowl so you guys can, well, I guess you can see in this one. Yeah, I'll put it in this one. I was going to put it in a tiny bowl, but maybe I'll do it in here. I'm going to put the stuff on the top in a sec. She was quite pretty in here. And then my rice. Lovely yellow rice, which is from the turmeric and the saffron. Turmeric adds more flavor, does add some color. Saffron adds some yellow as well. You end up with a bit of a sticky pan, but that's not so bad. All right. Let that heat up a wee bit more. Okay. All right. So, scallions on my rice. My and then I'm going to do the sorry, I'm walking around here. Soup, a little bit of cilantro on the soup. and a little basil on here, a little basil on there, and then thanks to top. Let me get a serving bowl for this as well. And a little bit more of the cilantro on here. Okay, I think you need something green on there because the color is not terribly pretty. So it's nice to have something to put on the top. Oh my goodness, it's only 10 past 1, 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Woohoo! You guys get to eat early. Okay, so a curry chicken, green curry chicken. Actually, I should go to overhead. My eggplant curry, the soup, and the rice right here. And I will do this, and you can see it from above. Where are we? There we go. There we go. Put it all into view. And my soup right there. All right. So I hope you all had a good time, and I hope you enjoy your food.